One of the topics that we always touch on Real Health is gut health, as we know that it affects our mental, emotional and physical health as well. Seeing that this is the first episode of this season, we thought it would be a good idea to start with just giving you some tips and advice to help keep things in balance. And for this discussion, I'm joined in studio by Christine Baxter, who is a nutritional advisor and health coach. Welcome, Christine. Good to have a new face for a change.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So, Christine, let's talk gut health. As I say, it's something that we do perennially chat about, but it's so important. And I think the important thing for people to understand is what is the actual principle behind gut health, the importance in living a healthy life with good gut health.
Okay, so the one thing that honestly sticks in my head from all my studying on nutrition, and that is it's not necessarily the food you eat, but it's actually what you digest and absorb.
Right.
Okay, so our gut health becomes really important, and it's actually referred to as the second brain because it's involved in so many processes in the body. All right, so it's important in terms of nutrient absorption, all right, as well as hormone utilization, okay, and allowing us to get energy from our food and everything from programming our immune system as well. That's something that not a lot of people know about the gut, and that's why the quality of your gut health actually affects your appearance and overall health. So your gut health also has a lot to do with mood disorders, all right? Because if you're sitting with a bacterial imbalance in your gut, you're going to sit with that same imbalance in the brain, all right? Something called gut dysbiosis. And because the brain and the gut are actually connected via the vagus nerve, it is that highway, as to say, in terms of the bacteria that, say, if it's not in a good place in your gut, it's really going to affect your anxiety, moods and stuff like that as well.
It's probably quite a broad question, but in terms of signs or symptoms that you have a problem with your gut health, what would be the most obvious ones or the first ones that show up?
So some of the big symptoms that you can experience is obviously the most common, which are your digestive issues, yes. All right, constipation, diarrhea, abdominal cramping, and believe it or not, reflux and bloating, okay, having eaten something and then you have this bloat afterwards, feeling uncomfortable in your skin. These are all symptoms that the body's telling you things aren't 100% right. So those are the most common ones that we know of, all right, but your gut health also can influence hormonal imbalance, all right, and this one's a big one. So not just your sex hormones, but also your metabolic hormones, okay? It can lead to sluggishness, tiredness, that kind of thing. And in saying that, it affects your metabolism as well, yes. All right? Which sometimes when women struggle to lose weight or even struggle with obesity, it can stem from what is actually happening with their guts, okay? Another one is skin rashes, allergies, even eczema, okay? What is happening with the gut,
right?
Okay? And one of the last ones is autoimmunity, all right? Sitting with chronic inflammation, when the gut is severely inflamed, autoimmune diseases stem from what is once again also happening with your gut. And this is everything from Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is obviously with the thyroid, inflammatory bowel diseases such as Crohn's, and even rheumatoid arthritis.
Okay.
So it really is so vital to concentrate what is happening with the gut.
Yeah. Things that will impact gut health. I mean, what are the ones that we're facing or that you're seeing in patients most frequently, from lifestyle to nutrition to whatever else may be having an impact?
Okay, so obviously the first one, which is the biggest one, is diet. Okay, people underestimate the power of food and what you're putting in your mouth. Okay, so in saying that, a diet that is high in sugar, low in fiber, and nutritionally depleted food, all right, a lot of processed foods, your trans fats, your basically your bad fats, okay, these all are damaging the body, damaging the cells. Because remember, if I can put it this way, if you don't recognize a name on a label, what makes you think your body's going to recognize
Yeah, absolutely.
it?
It's a good point.
Okay, so the idea of going back to the basics, going back to nature. How did we used to eat? Okay, going for things that are whole foods. This is really important. So, diet is obviously the first one. A second one, believe it or not, is a frequent use of antibiotics.
Right.
Okay, so obviously antibiotics have their place, but frequent use of them can really damage that the microflora, but your microvilli which is responsible absorption in the gut, okay? And the problem with that is it can really start to affect the integrity of the gut lining, and over time you actually stop absorbing the nutrients that you need to, all right? So apart from diet antibiotics, there's obviously anti-inflammatories and acids. Using a frequent amount of them really obviously causes further issues, okay? Chronic stress is a big one, because when you don't deal with it, it really impacts the gut. Because getting back to that brain-gut link, when you feel stressed and anxious, where do you feel it most?
Absolutely.
Okay, you feel it in your gut. Yes,
yeah.
But it's because it's got that direct link, okay? And if your body is in a heightened level of stress continuously, it also heightens your levels of cortisol and adrenaline, okay, which causes the digestive system to actually shut down.
Okay.
All right. Other things, parasites, bacterial infections, yeast such as candida, and also having low stomach acid, okay. One thing that people don't know, and that is you shouldn't actually be drinking water or liquid with your food. You should actually have about a 20-minute break in between, because when you drink fluid, it actually dilutes your stomach acid, and it affects the absorption of nutrients during digestion as well.
In a way, it sounds a bit scary because there's so many things that can have an impact on it. How do you encourage people to sort of take those first steps to re-kickstart this whole biome that is so essential?
So whole food eating properly is obviously number one way to go, okay? I always recommend staying as close as possible to your whole foods, your fruits and vegetables, eating as much leafy greens as possible, staying to your organic lean proteins, your nuts, your seeds, your pulses, okay? A very good tip is when it comes to grocery shopping is stick to the outsides.
Yes.
All right.
Favorite comment.
Yeah, stick to the outsides. Everything that's processed, packaged, bottled, etc., is generally in the middle of the supermarkets, and that is an easy tip to start making those changes.
Right.
And you need to take it step by step, all right? Because also remember, you've been eating in a certain way for so many years. And this is obviously also in terms of where the health coaching comes in, and that is changing that mindset, changing that behavior, because diet change can be difficult, all right? Because it's those mindset patterns. But now needing to make those changes and taking it step by step to actually change it in your mind, taking the time to change that behavior is what actually allows for long-term success.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, of course, on top of those changes that you might be making, things like pre and probiotics, it's always part of this discussion.
Yes.
Is it enough?
In terms of, as we said, the whole foods, eating properly, there's more to it, obviously. And with the prebiotics and the probiotics, supplementing is necessary when you struggle with nutrient absorption, all right, getting that gut right. So with probiotics specifically, okay, investing in a high quality probiotic is a good idea, all right, but you can also do it naturally with obviously your natural foods such as kombucha, kombucha, yogurt, sauerkraut, okay. Those have natural good probiotics in it, and they do recommend including those in the diet. But you do have to just be careful because of the fact that if your gut is sitting in a bit of an imbalance, you might actually react to those foods more so, okay? So if you're sitting with a bit of gut dysbiosis, you actually might land up with more bloating, all right? So that's why I generally recommend try the probiotics first, see if that works, and then when the gut starts to heal, add in more of those natural ones, all right? Then the story with the prebiotics is, so if you remember in terms of the gut, it is a balance between the bacteria and the microorganisms that are there, all right? Now, they're living organisms, so they need food, okay? So that is where this comes into play.
Right.
That's where prebiotics come into play. Those bacteria need the food. So the prebiotic is the food for the probiotic, okay? But prebiotics you can get naturally in your diet, which is your high fiber foods, okay, your soluble, your insoluble, which is your fruits and vegetables, etc. And that's what actually naturally feeds then those good bacteria. Because keeping in mind, bad bacteria actually thrives on sugar.
Yes, and that's when you really can throw yourself way out of whack.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the gut is cells and it's designed to heal, okay, when you start healing the gut, taking those steps forward, okay, in terms of eating properly, cutting out, actually one thing I didn't mention was cutting out anti-inflammatory foods. Okay, that's a big one, because as much as you're feeding the gut, you want to also take out what could be causing the issues. Okay, so it is something I look at in my practice a lot, is actually your food intolerance as well, because that can also damage that gut permeability.
Yes.
All right, and then you can sit with leaky guts, etc. And with regards to that, then you basically, you want to take out those inflammatory foods, okay? So gluten's a big one, dairy can be a big one as well. Most of the time I say to my clients, take it on a trial basis, cut out gluten and dairy for 2 to 4 weeks, see how you feel, all right? Generally, those small changes can make a big difference.
Right.
They normally report feeling a lot lighter in their gut, at having it work much better, and also an increase in energy.
Okay.
All right, and so that was another thing, is looking at then those anti-inflammatory foods.
Right.
So what else, like you were saying, what can you do in the real life? Okay, so 80%, 20%. The body's designed to heal. So when you're doing 80% of it correct, right, having a small treat, as long as it's not consistently, like a bar of chocolate every day, okay, you're not going to take gigantic steps back. Remember, as much as in a natural journey, it is the consistency, all right? So consistently eating properly, okay? Same with your supplementations, consistently taking them.
Yes, yes.
It's the same as poor gut health, eating sugar consistently, where the issue comes in.
Okay. Next week we are going to be picking up a discussion around hormones and the gut, so we look forward to that. But thank you so much. Great to have you in the studio. Wonderful, wonderful discussion. I look forward to having you back.
Thank you.